Welcome to the Pastor's Connection podcast, where we delve into the heart of ministry and explore the challenges and triumphs of pastoral life. Join us as we connect with inspiring leaders, share insightful stories, and equip one another with tools for effective ministry. Together, we can foster a community of support and encouragement and growth in our calling. I am your host, Thomas Osterkamp, pastor of Beachside Community Church in Palm Coast, Florida, and I help lead the Pastor's Connection Network. Today's episode is brought to you by Brotech Design. Brotech Design is your go-to destination for exceptional web design and reliable hosting solutions. They create stunning websites that captivate your audience and ensure seamless performance, helping your church or business thrive online. Elevate your digital presence with their tailored services at Brotech Design. Contact them today at info@brotech.design for assistance and to transform your online experience. And I am excited today. We have with us Adam Erlichman. He's pastor of Dwell Church and senior consultant for Build Groups. Good to have you on the show today, Adam.
Thanks, Thomas. Really excited to get to spend some time together, talk about something that I am immensely passionate about, and eat, sleep, and breathe, wake up, and this is what I got to wake up to and get to wake up to do. So, yeah.
And today we are going to be talking about the importance of small groups in a church community and how to develop a thriving small group ministry. But before we jump into our conversation for today, Adam, I know some of our listeners may not be familiar with who you are, and so we try to make a little personal connection. So can you kind of introduce your family to us a little bit?
Sure, yeah. So my wife, Anna, and I, we've got 3 boys, Judah, Titus, and Deacon. We live in a frat house. They're 11, 9, and 7, man. It is a blast. So that's our family. What we got, and we do a lot of baseball. You know, I joke around. I say I'm a full-time church consultant. I'm a co-vocational church planner. I pay to plant, which is always fun to say, not to live. And the third thing I'll say is my true calling is actually coaching youth baseball in Dallas, Texas. It just doesn't pay anything. So, but that's me and our family.
You have exactly the opposite scenario as me because I have 4 daughters, and they're ranging from 19 to 14. Our life has always been a musical. So I don't know anything about raising boys or what that life is like. But I live vicariously through guys like you. So, you know, you are a pastor along with a consultant and all of that kind of stuff. Can you share with us just a little bit about your church experience and background?
Yeah, sure. So my background is I didn't grow up in church. I didn't grow up biblically literate. I became a Christian at 19. And I was sitting in a class for New Testament going, who's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and why does everyone know who these guys are? So I entered into the Christian life with complete biblical illiteracy and had a lot to learn really fast because the Lord called me to occupational ministry not 2 years after I was called to salvation. And,
wow.
Yes. So I had no vision, no view, no idea of what a lot of that looked like. So the first place that I served in a ministry role, I was in Lynchburg, Virginia. I did college and young adult ministry there. From there, I did student ministry in East Texas, east just outside of Dallas. Adult ministry pastor, and then executive pastor of discipleship. And so now what I do full time is I'm the senior consultant of Build Groups. It's been around for around 5-6 years, somewhere in there. I don't know the exact date. And I've done this full time for a little over, I think, 2 years now. And we've got a team of maybe close to a dozen people and other consultants and a publishing arm and things of that nature. So our hands are kind of in everything. I have my hand a little bit in all sorts of different spaces and places. And yeah, we have a blast. There's never a dull, boring moment.
I'm sure not, with so much going on. What I love about your story is it's a little easier for you to identify with a lot of people in our culture today who didn't grow up Bible literate. Years ago, it was like everybody just grew up knowing the most basic things about the Bible, and that just isn't true today. So how do you think that's helped you connect with the people coming into your church that literally know nothing?
Man, I'd say it's helped me immensely in ministry to not make any assumptions in a communication sense of trying to mobilize people or assimilate them into being more involved in your local church. Really getting assimilated for the purpose of a high trajectory to become more like Christ based on whatever programs or offerings or options that you have for their spiritual formation and growth, whether that's groups or something else. I can remember when I was 19 just going like, what does that word even mean that he just said? Sancta for what?
Yeah.
And I can remember what it was like being part of a local church and just going, what is Awana? And that's not even a word. Like, where did that, so
yeah,
me coming in with that naked eye, if you will, into a new place, the whole church, in general, and going, man, it was so confusing for me entering into some different places that had a lot of cultural Christian language or Christianese, if you will. I think gave me some good framework or perspective to really look at, assess, and consider for someone who's maybe more in the postmodern world and didn't have that biblical basis or upbringing, how we could better connect or communicate with them to help them take those steps more appropriately.
Yeah, I like that because, like, for me, I grew up in church from the time I was born, and so I have to work harder to think about, okay, if I didn't know anything about church or Jesus or the Bible, what are the things that would be weird to me that I would need some further explanation on? So it's nice that you have that experience. So conversation today, talking about small groups, the importance, how to develop a thriving small group ministry. Can you just kind of share your perspective on the role small groups play within a church community and why they are essential for spiritual growth?
Absolutely. That's like one of my favorite questions because it is just like a firework boom, just like small groups in the local church. It is the tide that raises every ministry ship in your church. One of my mentors, Jared Musgrove, he has said it like this. He says it is groups go, so goes the church. The foundation of the early church was predicated upon the health, function, and reproduction of small groups. And the expansion of the church was reliant upon small groups. And everywhere you look through the New Testament, it goes, and they met in their house, and they met in their house, and they met. Yeah. and not saying that, hey, a group can only meet in houses. We work with churches that are on campus, off campus groups, and all that. It's good. It's just the fact of these smaller gatherings within the larger body really props up and strengthens every other ministry, every other effort that you have. From when you have people who are involved in a group, they are far more likely to serve and be a contributor. When people get involved in a group, generosity increases. We have data and statistics that we've collected from churches around the country that would speak to this in a very, game-changing way for a church, that generosity increases. When you have people who are getting involved in a group, they are a higher quality volunteer or leader that you can have into different, like kids ministry, student ministry. And so when groups are strong or getting stronger or have intention put into it, you start to see that it raises that tide for every other ministry ship in your church, and they all increase and get better and stronger.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that we try to focus in on as well, because as a church, congregation grows, you lose that accountability and that ability to really connect with people. And so it just becomes that much more important to be involved in a group. And as you are kind of evaluating, you have an opportunity to do this all over the country. You're evaluating different small group ministries. what do you think are some of the key elements that we ought to use to figure out, okay, how's our small group ministry doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what we use, this is a tool that actually, y'all, anyone you're listening here, you could go to our website, buildgroups.net, and we have our framework that we use on there that's called the 6 areas of a group's ministry. Now, we call it a framework. It's not a model. It's not a system, because when you use a model or system, you're really looking at like copy and pasting. And so what we tell churches is we do not take palm trees from Florida, where Thomas is, right, and then plant them in Minnesota.
Yeah, yeah, that's not going to work.
That's not going to work. So framework operates in realities and acknowledging, hey, these are 6 realities that are going to be true of every group's ministry, no matter where you are in the country, in your context, in your culture. Like biblically, when you look at what we're called to do, those 6 areas are going to need an answer, an intentional, customized effort into your specific context. And so just being aware of those 6 areas alone is very, very powerful for a church to start to look at, well, what do we need to start doing, or what do we need to stop doing, or what do we need to think a little bit more about? What parts or components are missing for us to create a healthy small group culture? Because when you have that healthy small group culture, right, it's like it puts people on a high trajectory for spiritual growth. It is no mistake that Jesus' primary vehicle to prepare his 12 disciples to turn the world upside down was a small group.
Yeah.
That's sometimes just a biblical fact that can be overlooked or just forgotten, and it's like was Jesus's primary tool to, shape and form them, was community together, growing, learning, right? And so it's highly relational discipleship in that sense. So for those 6 areas, you probably want to know what they are. I've said, hey, there's 6 areas, and
yes, definitely.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not going to say it. That no. Here they are. I won't leave you with a cliffhanger. That'd be just so cruel. Discover, develop, deploy. New group leaders. Connect people into community. Coach leaders ongoing. Care for the souls of all. So that's 1 through 6. It is a circle. It's a cycle. If you see the image on our website, I think it's buildgroups.net/groups. I think it's probably, but you can find it pretty easy. And
we'll get a link for that, and we'll put it in the show notes, so those of you who are listening will be able to just look down, click on it, and get that information to you.
Yeah, if you're more visual, you'll be thankful for that. So thanks, Thomas. That'll help. And so those 6 areas, it's how do you discover new potential group leaders? How do you develop them or prepare them to be deployed to start a new group? And then connect new people into that new group with that new group leader. Coach the leader ongoing for retention. And then care for the souls of all of them. And the whole thing starts all over. As you're caring for the souls of all of them, you're getting to know those people. You now are building up that pre-pipeline of potential new group leaders that can go start new groups. And so one of the big I'd say errors that the church has made when it comes to group life in America today is we have focused on finding a bunch of people to form a group, and then thirdly, then we go, all right, well, now who's going to lead this group?
Yeah.
And I find that to be a really backwards way, I think, way of doing it, just based on what we saw Jesus do, is he chose his disciples, he prepared them, and then he deployed them to gather in the crowds, right, see people saved, go plant churches. And so the thing that we preach, if you're going to boil it down to a formula, is if you can discover, develop, deploy new group leaders, you'll start new groups. And when you start new groups, people will join those groups. And we can tend to get that backwards. We go people, groups, then leader. But if you start with a healthy leader, it makes all the difference. So if someone were like, hey, what's one thing that I could start doing to just get moving towards a healthy small groups ministry in my local church, I'd say the most important thing you could do is start training new group leaders and probably some of your existing. A lot of times the existing leaders have never been trained. They've just been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually you might learn some things from them because they've been in the, the foxhole and the front lines of doing this for a while. But yeah, start training new potential leaders to start new groups, and you'll be amazed at what that is. The not starting new groups is basically the default and the norm I see across churches around the country. Is most churches aren't starting new groups. Starting new groups is one of the key indicators that we look at for health in a church. Are new groups happening? Because if new groups are happening, new people are joining. Because if you start a new group, new people, they're far more likely to stay, and hang around far sooner and far longer than they would joining an existing group where they got to crack into that community that's been built. So that's a few things I'd say to that, Thomas.
So as far as like, you're talking about finding those potential group leaders, do you have a couple tips where pastors or whoever's over the small group ministry can kind of take to look and find those leaders? Who are you looking for if you're looking for leaders at Dwell Church to lead your groups?
Yes. So I'll give you two things. The first thing is more conceptual. The second thing is actually practical, like actionable, right?
Okay.
So the first thing, conceptual, you got to have an idea of what it is you're looking for. Okay. So I'll do this whenever we start consulting a new church. We'll bring the staff will come in, and I'll do this fun little exercise. I've never shared this on a podcast or anywhere before, other than just like with a church. So this is going to be, y'all will probably enjoy this little treat.
Perfect.
I'll go in with a new church staff, and they'll come into the room where we're meeting that day. And I got my whiteboard. That's my first language, whiteboard. My second language is English, and then got the TV in there. and I tell them, I go, hey guys, I hid something in here. I hid something in the room. Now, if you find it, I've got $200 worth of gift card in my bag that's for you. So I'm going to start the clock in 5 seconds, and you all get 60 seconds to find it. Ready, set, go. I literally do it this quick, right? They get up, they start looking, and they're going, and one church I did like a month or two ago, one of the guys tackled another guy into a couch because he thought he found it before.
Oh, geez.
I won't say.
He wants that $200.
He wanted that $200, man. They were like all out, bought in. And so about 15 seconds into the 60 seconds, for trying to find this thing, they go, well, what is it? And I go, no, keep looking. Just keep looking. So they start off excited, real happy. Like, we're going to do this. We can do this. We got this. Like, they've got the vision for it. And then 15 seconds, like, well, wait, but what is it? What are we looking for? And then about 30 seconds in, they slow down. They start like re-strategizing, changing, like, well, maybe I need a different approach here instead of just run around picking, flipping stuff up. And then about 45 seconds in, they're like, I don't even think there is anything. I think he lied to me. I don't think this is God's plan for my life. And and
That's funny.
There's no leaders out there at all. Right. So we finish and I go, hey guys, this is how you look for new leaders and volunteers at your church. And they go, yeah, it is. Ouch. So
wow.
When it comes to starting to look for new potential volunteers or leaders, you have to have it written down so that it's real to you and articulated of this is what it is that we're looking for, not just, looking aimlessly. Right. And so one of the acronyms I've heard, and this is from so many different places, I don't even know who originated, but fat Christians, faithful in that they're showing up, A, they're available for investment, T, they're teachable. If you have those three basic kind of just, hey, if we look for those three things and you have some common language, then you can know, hey, this is what it is that we're looking for, right? Most of the time I see churches, the reason why they struggle to find new leaders, Thomas, is because they're looking for prepackaged leaders who
Sure.
are like a list of all of these, it's like you're basically looking for a pastor, right? Or you're looking for someone who's been doing groups for 10, 15 years, like one of your current group leaders. And you have these unrealistic expectations. And so instead of looking for the prepackaged leader, you want to look for the potential leader and go to, well, what are the bare minimum basic requirements? so that we can actually prepare them to be placed in position for success, not just pick them and place them because they were prepackaged, but you pick them, you prepare them, and you place them so they're positioned for success. So that's the first
Excellent
conceptual thing that I would say is get something written down so you know what it is you're looking for. The second thing is, and this is a Dave Enns North Coast Community Church special. I mean, he's done this for 20 plus years. They're a church that has more than 80% of their entire worship service in groups, and they're a church of 10,000 people.
That's huge.
The larger you get, the harder it is to have higher percentages. And if you're that large and have that much, I'm down to learn from you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? I want to learn and I want to share it with others. So Dave Enns, one of the things he talks about in his book, and what I've heard him share in just different settings and breakouts and things where he's spoken, is a referral-based program where he will call his leaders or he'll email them. Typically, a call is going to be more effective. Hey, is there anyone that you think could be a good potential group leader? And you use that conceptual language. Here's what I'm looking for. Here's what it is I'm asking you to look for. Fat Christian, F-A-T. You frame it for the leader, and you set their filters for them so they don't put their own standards in there and go, well, I don't know any Billy Grahams.
Sure. Yeah.
You're like, well, I didn't ask you to find Billy Graham. I just asked you to, very just small prerequisites here.
It's like, do you think you're a Billy Graham? Like, come on.
Right, exactly. And so, that's a different conversation. Anyways, I'm sure we'll talk about conflict resolution later on in the episode. But we'll save that for later. So, you ask them, like, hey, are there any? And then they'll give you a list of names or maybe a name or two. And you want to ask them, well, why do you think they would be? Because you need a qualitative reason when you call that person to go, hey, I think you'd be a good group leader because you're really good at asking questions in group time. It really engages everybody as soon as you ask a question. As opposed to, hey, would you be a group leader? Well, why would you ask me? Your name came up.
Yeah.
It's highly impersonal, feels like you're using them. It is not priestly or pastoral in any sense. So you're helping them, you're acknowledging the soul and trying to take them to where God's calling them. So asking that leader, and then if you call that person, here's where it starts to get into the specifics of what Dave Enns does, is you call that person the name that was given to you from your leader, your existing leader. Hey, would you be open to see if you'd be, want to be a group leader? If they say yes, then hey, you've got one. If they say no, you ask, well, is there anyone else that comes to mind that you think would be a good group leader? And they may give you a name or they may not. And if they don't give you a name, you say, well, hey, would it be okay if I followed back up with you in about a week? If we just prayed about it, see if the Lord brings anyone to your mind, and I call you in a week and see if, anything. And every time they're going to be like, yeah, absolutely, call me. Call them in a week. If they don't have anybody, or maybe they do. If they don't have anybody, you go, hey, could I just follow back up with you in 6 months just to see if the Lord's brought anyone to your mind, or you've noticed anyone who could be a good potential, group leader.
Yeah.
Most time, again, they're going to say yes. Now, here's the beauty of this is as you do this with more and more people, it starts to compound. And even though they said no to being a group leader, they now become your personal ministry's recruiter and eyes to help you identify new potential leaders. And that's been so effective for North Coast and for Dave. And he's compounded that over 20 years, right? So that's one thing I would say, that referral-based type of asking and then re-asking and then, almost sort of passively commissioning them to be your recruiter.
Yeah.
Very effective.
Well, what I like about that too is it gives you an opportunity maybe to, figure out, well, what are the reasons you feel like this isn't for you? Because maybe it's just the fact that they feel like I have no training. Well, hey, we can take care of that for you. We have training for you. Can you mention, I didn't catch it. Do you mention the name of Dave's book for those who may want to check it out?
Oh man. Off the top of my head.
I'm putting you on the spot.
You did put me on the spot. I'm trying to remember. I could look that up and you could put it in the show notes, but I can't remember off the top of my head. This has been a minute since I've read it. I have more interactions with them in person or like at conferences that I go to. And so I've heard it more from there, but I know it's in his book.
Yeah, and they can Google his name and get it also. We'll try to put it in the show notes as well. So, obviously when you're talking about groups, that feeling of connection and community is an important part of a group staying together long term and really developing people spiritually. So how can small groups help to foster that community?
Yeah, that's such a good question. There's really three kind of elements to a group that a leader has to be cognizant of. The one that's the obvious one I think every group knows is your content. Hey, what content are you going to go through, or curriculum or scripture? It has to be good content. It has to be inspired content, most likely, or referencing to inspired, content, inerrant, Word of God. And, that's always like, yes, obviously. Second one is community, and then the third one is contribution. So contribution would fall under kind of service or mission. So content is informational, community is relational, contribution is missional, in that you are activated into contributing in a service or evangelistic sense. So community, I believe, of those three is the foundational base that everything else is built on. I think content sticks much more when the relationship is there.
Yeah.
I think that people care what you know a whole lot more when they know how much you care about them.
Totally.
Yeah. And so building that community, I think, is a huge, huge deal. So there's a few things I would say is, number one is just knowing that like biblical community has been defined. It is not up for reinterpretation. It is not up for new definitions. It has already been defined in the New Testament. And I find at most churches I go to, like I'm flying out tonight to go to church in San Antonio and do leader training with group leaders. Most cannot define what biblical community is biblically. And very simply put, biblical community is the one another's of the New Testament. Love one another, care for one another, encourage one another, be hospitable towards one another, admonish one another, or correct, right? Ooh, I love that one. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Pray for one another. Do not gossip about one another. Do not provoke one another to anger. And so anytime you see those phrases, one another, that is describing, but also prescribing what Christian community is supposed to look like in a local church. And so...
What a simple but profound definition. I love that.
It is. And like I said, it's very overlooked, missed, I think, in almost every group ministry, many of them. And that's just that. It's already there. It's right there. And trying to describe all that or come up with some different things of what biblical community is, it pales in comparison to what Scripture actually tells us if we're trying to create something or manufacture it. So the first thing I'd say is understanding, hey, what is the biblical definition of biblical community, so you know what you're supposed to do and to become as you are building this community. The second thing is this massive lie that the church has said to people for decades, and it is. And it's not an intentional lie. I'm not saying it was nefarious or malicious. It's just not realizing we are perpetuating this lie to people when we communicate this way, when we say, find a group so you can find community. And the truth of the matter is you don't find community, you forge community.
Yeah, you're right.
You build it. It is through hard effort, time spent with each other, that you build that community, and it happens over a period of time. And
I think you just hit me, because I think I've been guilty of using similar terminology. So that's good. That's real good. Forging community.
Yes. Yeah. And so when And so I used to say it too, right? So like we've all got a past on that part.
Yeah,
But
that's good.
yeah, and so not indicting anyone, just encouraging. Hey, let's be more biblically accurate here to not mislead people.
Well, the terminology we use really does matter. I mean, so just a small little change, makes a big difference.
It does. It is a very small rudder onto a massive ship. So here's the practical implication. If you say, find a group and you'll find community, well, people show up to a group expecting, well, community will happen.
Yeah.
And that's just not biblically true. Like when someone joins a group, there has to be a committed, intentional effort outside of even the group meeting time for true biblical community to be built, right?
Yeah.
And so when people go, oh, I found community, or they feel like, hey, they visited one time or maybe 3 times, a group that's been together for 3 or 4 years, worked really hard to build that. They go, man, this is awesome. We found community. Go, no, you didn't find it. You poached community, man. They did all the hard work and you're just, benefiting.
Yeah. Or people show up to a group because you've told them, show up, you'll find it. And then they don't find it. And they look, well, I guess groups aren't for me.
Yes. And that's exactly it too. We give them a microwaved version or a microwave expectation for something that has to be, depending where you live, it's crock pot. But here in Texas, we say we smoke it. It takes a long time.
Yeah. That's nice.
So those would be 2 things: is definition of biblical community. Stop perpetuating that lie and understanding, hey, it's forged, not found. And at a very practical level, I'll give this would be probably more for a group leader, right? One thing a group leader could do early on in their group, and even if they've been going for a long time, it's just good to do something like this. There are 2 things I'd say. One, have everyone share their life story over a few different meetings.
Okay.
Not their testimony of salvation, because some of them might not have it.
Sure.
Hey,
hopefully there's people in your group that don't have it.
Yeah. By and large, today, yes, that's pretty true. So ask them to share their life story. And even if they do have a salvation testimony, you will hear what they emphasize or don't emphasize. That's spiritual.
Yeah.
And you'll get a gauge, even if they are a Christian, how important or centered in their life that really is, right? And you'll also not make the outsider, not Christian, unbeliever feel like just so weird that they disengage.
Sure.
Or don't show up to group. The second thing I'd say practically a group leader could do to build community is ask this one question. This is a question that we've asked, and we've gotten over 10,000 different responses on that we've collected, and the data is in, and it is done, and it is definite in a startling way for what people think about groups. It's not. It indicates something that's pretty startling, that we have to do some re-education and helping people learn more about what groups are actually purposed for. This one question: what is one quality of a healthy group? And you'll get people, and we'll go in a circle, everyone answers in the group. I do this when we train group leaders. I do this with a new group, and they'll say, that we would be loving, we'd be transparent, we'd be open, we'd be trusting, we'd be caring, we'd be authentic, biblical, right? All these things, which are true.
Yeah.
They're good, they're right, they're not wrong, but they are incomplete. So there's 4 qualities that we have had people respond with less than 1% of the time. And those 4 qualities that have been said less than 1% of the time out of 10,000 plus responses are repentance. Group is a place for repentance. Grace. Group is a place for grace to happen. Unmerited favor. Admonish or correction. And then the 4th one, this is the most startling, and it's I say them in this order specifically because the 3 that I just said make the 4th one possible. If you don't have the 3 preceding, the 4th one can't happen. The 4th one is growth.
Okay, yeah.
Less than 1% would say group is where I grow. in my Christian life.
Wow. Yeah.
They see a group as the place for the weak Christians to go survive, not for them to grow, thrive, and become more like Christ. And so if you don't have repentance, and you don't have grace, and you don't have correction in group, then you're never going to have growth, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, try coaching the football team without correcting anybody. Will anyone get better?
Absolutely not.
No. And in Texas, football correction is in abundance.
Yes. Yeah, it's pretty intense there.
It is. It is. At a practical level, I'd say those are two things that use a group leader you could do. You can, hey, let's share our life stories and ask this question: what's one quality of a healthy group? And help, people to answer that, because when they say those things, it's also defining what the group will be about when they give those answers. Because no one in there, when you ask the question, none of them are going to go, well, then I would find my best friend for life. That's a healthy quality of a group. It's like, well, that's a good desire, but that's an unrealistic expectation of this group that's probably going to blow it up in about 6 months, because you're not going to find your best friend for life, and you're going to be mad at everybody.
Yeah.
So there's more examples I could give there, but those are some things I'd say you could do to build community.
That's excellent. And you've given a couple suggestions for group leaders. What is some advice that you have for training and equipping small group leaders to ensure they're effective in their roles? Because we may have pastors who are listening to this, or maybe somebody stepping up who's lead small group ministry who's never really done it before. Like, I grew up with old-fashioned Sunday school, which was basically like a mini sermon before the main sermon. And so when we switched over to groups, I was basically like flying blind, like trying to read all different kinds of books and figure out how this works. So what advice would you have for somebody maybe like that?
Yeah. So the first thing I would say is we have created a resource for people who are in that place, who are like, I don't know what to do to train or prepare, group leaders.
Excellent.
Or new group leaders. So this is that resource, group leader training. It's a biblical manual for small group leaders and teachers in the local church. It is all based on Acts 2:42 through 47. It's got 5 sessions. What is a healthy group? Fellowship, grow, serve, multiply. And what we're doing in there is we're training group leaders how to build community, how to help other people grow spiritually, how to mobilize them to begin serving, because that's a huge step for spiritual growth as they activated. And then the 5th one, multiply. How do we share our faith communally as a group? Or how do we multiply to start a new group? So those are all things in there. There's 5 to 10 minute videos, fill in the blanks. There's doctrinal assessments on core doctrine, questions to lead a discussion so you can model what a healthy group feels like in a training. And then the chapters that they read are all the answers to the questions. So it took us 6 years to write that. We took 1,000 group leaders through it, and that's how we kind of formed it.
Wow.
So I'd say if you don't, you can get that on Amazon. You can get on our website 50% off if you order like 10 or more copies or something. But like that would be a great place to go for preparing. Now, in general, if you're going to prepare a group leader, I would tell you this. If your goal is to get a new small group leader, not a Sunday school teacher, right? Those are very different things.
Totally different. Yeah.
And I could say this either way. I'm not anti-Sunday school. I just, speaking to it.
No, not at all.
I think they're best friends. They both accomplish one, the other can't, and they work together really well. Some of the best churches that are assimilating people the most effectively actually do hybrid. They do both, is what I find. So when you look at training or preparing someone, we have gone from Sunday school into more small groups now over the last 10, 20, 30 years. You will still see some churches that they train a small group leader the way they trained a Sunday school teacher. So when they train them, they will lecture to them for 30, 45, 50 minutes. This is what it means to be a healthy group leader. And then that group leader goes into the home and they start lecturing to their people, and they're just doing what was done to them.
Yeah, that's the example you gave me in training. Right. Yeah. You're right.
Right. Their experience with you in training is that you modeled lecture. And so I would say that it's not just what you talk about in the training, but how you facilitate the training that is just as important for you preparing them. It's kind of like this. If you have someone do push-ups every day to train, and after 6 months they're doing 500 push-ups every day, and it's incredible, they're the best at doing push-ups, and you go, all right, your training is complete, let's go run the 40-yard dash.
Right? Yeah.
They're like,
those don't equate.
The preparation did not prepare me for where you placed me. And so I see that often is the training is disconnected from the actual practice of the ministry that you ask them to go do, or the job description is not in alignment with the preparation you put them through. So if you want a Sunday school teacher, like, probably demonstrate good lecturing.
Yes.
If you want someone to build community and facilitate conversation in a small group or setting, then model that. Instead of telling them the leadership content, craft questions to lead them into where you want to go content wise.
Okay. I like that. I like that a lot. So we've kind of talked about the importance of groups and a little bit about training and finding leaders and all of that. So let's talk about actually getting people to participate in a group here. What do you think are some strategies that churches can implement to encourage participation and engagement in their groups?
Yeah. Now, the first one is going to be just starting new groups, period.
Okay.
I said that earlier. If you start new groups, new people are far more likely to join a new one than try to crack into the culture and community of an existing group.
Sure.
Not that you shouldn't connect people to existing groups. It's okay. It just isn't as that soil isn't as tilled up. It's a bit harder. It's been formed. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, man, when it comes to like discovery, develop, deploying new group leaders, you want to be very precise and specific and considerate of people's time, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to connecting people to groups, as the leader of that ministry or the one responsible for getting people into groups, first of all, you need to realize it is everyone's responsibility in the church to connect people to groups. It is group leaders and group members' job and responsibility to help connect everyone into groups and to voice that to everybody in whatever manner you feel like that you could do that. And the second thing on that is, when it comes to connecting people to groups, is anything goes. Man, like, it is the grind. I would encourage you to use any mechanism, any method that you can, whether that's email, that's text message, social media, sharing social media to other groups in your local, area, neighborhood group. Like, I would post a new group is starting on our church social media page. And then I would share it to this neighborhood group and this neighborhood group and this neighborhood group.
That's a great idea.
Very, very effective. You'll get people who aren't even in church who go, I want to join your group. And
yeah. And they'll probably come to that. Some will come to that more than they would ever step foot inside the church of the door of your church. So
100%. They absolutely will. And when you do things like that, it also emboldens and gives confidence to your group leader that you've got their back and you're supporting them. And if they feel like that group will actually last longer, you'll have good retention, and the longer your groups last, the better culture you have, the easier it is to recruit, the easier it is to connect people into groups because you have good stories, not bad stories, right? People continue going through the drive-thru at McDonald's because they got their order right. So other things that you can do, again, it's just anything you can do to try to help people get into groups. I'd say, man, do it. List them on your website. I'm a fan of putting a picture of the leaders on the website. I think, making that personal, not just listing information that is helpful. And depending on what size church you are, like if you have 5 groups at your church, you can put that on a single card that people can pick up. If you've got 20 groups, well, now you're looking at maybe a booklet.
Sure.
And again, I would include pictures on those for, people to see who the leaders are. One thing we did was we took a map that was about, maybe 4 by 4 foot, and we put it on the wall in the foyer, and then we pinpointed where different groups were meeting on the map, and then we had clipboards hung up, cardstock, the leader picture, information about where, when they met, here's their email, that they could reach out to them.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah, and so they would walk by, visually see, hey, this is where a group is. Another thing you could do is you could just do a big groups expo kind of fair thing at your peak seasons. Peak seasons for groups are when people's calendars change naturally.
Yeah.
August, January. Sometimes Easter is a third peak season for you as well, because you have so many new people come in and there's some reinvigoration spiritually. I'm a fan of launching new groups in August or September, depending on when school starts for you guys or in your local area there. August, September, January, and then also Easter. And you can set up new groups out in your foyer with tables and cards of information, have some goodies out there, whatever you want to do. And on those days, I would say something from stage. I would speak to it from the stage and just let people know, hey, this is groups day. And even if you don't connect a whole ton of people, everybody in your church is going to go, groups are important in our church.
Yeah.
It is a corporate understanding that we are supposed to get in a group if we want to grow. And if we aren't in a group at some point, hopefully they're the minority and they feel a little bit of healthy discomfort.
Yep.
And when they show up to worship on Sunday, they feel that pull or that push a little bit to go, I need to get in a group.
Yes. Peer pressure, positive peer pressure works.
We just, we call it third person of the Trinity pressure, Holy Spirit pressure.
Yeah.
So that's some of the things I would say that you could do. Too many people don't use their database. You can print off your church database. Now this only works if you take attendance. If you don't take attendance, you don't have clean data.
Yeah.
I'd say, man, you are missing a lot of shepherding care opportunities. Taking attendance, you can run a report and go, these are all the people who aren't attending a group in the last 3-6 months.
Well, and there's so many tools that make it easy to take attendance for your groups. Like, we use Planning Center groups, and it's literally, once you set it up for your group leaders, it's, hey, click this link, tap the people in the group, add guests. Like, it's so simple.
It is. It is not complicated. If you can get that and have that data that really helps you shepherd people better, game changer.
Yeah. So obviously there's a lot more we could talk about with groups, and people may have some questions, or they may want to reach out and say, hey, we could use your help, your advice with our groups. Can you just take a couple of minutes and just share about Build Groups, what you have to offer, how they can reach out to you with questions, or to have you come do a consultant, or any of those sorts of things?
Yeah, absolutely. So Build Groups, we've got a team of consultants in different parts of the country. I'm based out of Dallas, Texas, and I go a good bit all over, whether it's speaking at a conference or going to meet with a church in person. Some of the things I think that are unique about us as a consulting firm to churches, I think often when you think of a consulting firm, the church goes, oh, well, we're not big enough. Like, we're not over 1,000. We couldn't, get one or afford where they wouldn't work with us. We work with churches as small as 50 and as large as 14,000, right? So we have a price point, and we have the ability to work with churches that are smaller and work within a budget that makes sense for them, so they can get what we would hope would be the best that any church could get, right? It's not just allotted or reserved for the large church. It's for any size. That's the first thing. The second thing, with some churches, 100% of what we do is virtual. So some of that, gets costs down as well too, to help them. But generally, if a church wants, we'll come and do a one on-site campus type of visit. And our consulting usually goes anywhere from 8 to 10 months. We have a client portal they get to go through, and they get to access all these different templates for every area of the 6 areas of a group's ministry and build out their own customized templates that make sense for their ministry and their context and their culture.
Cool.
Using their church language and their vision and mission statement. So we offer all of that. So we do the small groups consulting, we do solving the volunteer crisis, and we say we'll help you increase your volunteer or leader base by 30 to 50% in 6 to 12 months. And we've never not done it. We just, it works, and it changes a lot for a church when they get to see that happen.
Yeah.
And then the third space that we work in consulting wise is assimilation, for, street to sidewalk to seat to scope and sequence to solidifying membership. And so we work in all those nuts and bolts practical places and whatnot, and have resources on our website that we've published or published some other authors through our publishing arm that typically tends to try to complement what we do in consulting. So if you want to learn more, you can go to buildgroups.net. If you wanted to connect with me personally, I've done this one other time, Thomas. It didn't go bad, but I'll do it again. I'll give you my personal cell phone number, okay?
Oh, you're a brave man. Okay.
Hey, I was like, if Tom Brady can do it, well,
yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna be all right, I think.
Why can't I?
Yeah. Other than the fact that he probably has, 10 phone numbers or whatever. But, my phone number, if you want to connect or reach out, it's 434-444-6376. You can shoot me a text, give me a call. Happy to connect, whether it's, talk to me or one of our consultants that are closer to you. Love to help you guys. Just, I think do ministry in strengthening a major muscle of the church that if it's weak, everything else suffers. And, getting the lifeblood flowing, getting the spine strong and healthy to support everything else. I think that groups can help do that. So, yeah.
And you can reach us here at the Pastors Connection Network by going to pastorsconnectionnetwork.com, or you can find us on Facebook at Pastors Connection Network. Adam, I sure appreciate your time and sharing your wisdom with us. I know that if people reach out to you, it will be a great blessing and a help to them, but thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I love talking about this, and I love what you guys are doing with Pastors Connection Network. We need more of it, and I hope audience, you guys are just tapping into this. It's just such a great resource.
Thank you for joining us on the Pastors Connection podcast. May you be inspired and equipped to lead with grace and purpose until we meet again.